Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
What's up?
Welcome to the 143rd Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with my main man and co-host Andrew Norman.
That's it.
Today's, and we might have a special guest lurking suspiciously in our hearts who just might emerge from the bottom of our hearts. Today's topic is spiritual awareness. Can you share what this topic means to you and why you're happy to discuss this here today?
I can, Milan. Good to see you, young man. I love you. I love you very much. So spiritual awareness, it's really cool. I was flipping through some topics last night, and then that one kind of popped out, and it was like we got to do this one, and I'm glad you hopped on board.
Wait 1 sec. Before we get into this, the funniest thing ever is that my last episode was with a good friend of mine, Van, and he started a meeting called We Agnostics, and the episode was called The Godless Bastard. So when somebody looks down the list, it's going to say The Godless Bastard and Spiritual Awareness next. Okay.
So we're just coming hard on the front side of this. Okay. All right. Yeah. Spiritual awareness. Let's get back tapped in. Right. All right. Cool. Yeah. So what, I thought when coming into this thing, when I think about that term spiritual awareness, as an overview, I thought it was something that it was like this mystical concept or something, like reserved for like the highest of monks and like religious, the spiritual awareness, spirituality in general was a foreign term to me. So spiritual awareness, being awoke spiritually, if you will, for the kids in the audience, bro, like that was this kind of far off thing, those chess masters can get that spiritual awareness. Those people that can really get tapped in and locked in. And that was something that I wasn't going to ever be able to do. So it wasn't really anything I tried to even notice coming into this thing. But start talking about spirituality. This is a spiritual, not religious program. You start hearing that word spirituality, and you start hearing what that word is. And I realized that spiritual awareness is not something that I had to find. Like I had to uncover that shit, right? I had to uncover my spiritual awareness because we're all like my literature tells me, Milan, I'm born a spiritual being. So right there, that tells me as I'm growing and as I'm living, as I'm becoming a human being, I'm trying to find and tap into something spiritually. That's why I love this program. And spiritual awareness is an ongoing conscious connection with something bigger than what I have going on myself, right? That's what it means to me, in just brass tacks, right? And it's the ability to tune in, right? Like to tune into that higher power, being able to understand where I am in the present moment, tap into my surroundings, my mind, my connect my mind, body, my heart, my soul, right? Have all those things moving in the same direction so that I'm moving fluid through this world at that present moment. And, at its core, it's about being awake. When you think about that word awake, awake at the moment, awake to the truth of the moment, to my motives, right? Being awake to my motives, my behavior, my connection to the people around me at that moment. When I was in active addiction, I was numb to any of that, right? I was void of anything like that. So as we come in here and we start thawing out, this is something that is an ongoing process that we can continue to gain. And I think as time goes by, we can be more comfortable in that place, right? Being able to be spiritually tapped in and be in a situation where it doesn't get out of control for you because you're tapped in, man. You're tapped in, And it's about being awake, man. At its simple, at that core, man, it's about being awake in the moment, being connected consciously to what you want to be connected to, not to what the whole, um, all your surroundings are connected into, but being tapped into your higher power at that moment in whatever situation you are, and being able to kind of work through your spirituality in whatever situation comes across your plate. And so I know we got some good questions. Um, I didn't know what finding peace in that quiet moment was. Being spiritually awake and awoke to the moment and having awareness spiritually allows me to understand and appreciate every moment. If I choose to do so, if I mentally can at that moment, you know. So I'll pass that to you, man. Love you.
I love you too, man. Yeah, it's the juxtaposition of these two podcasts for me is just two completely opposite
I saw that,
mindsets.
the godless bastard. I didn't even tap on it
And
because I didn't want to get like zapped before I come into this meeting. I like this morning I woke up and I saw that godless bastard. I'm like, hold on, is that a typo?
and that's self-proclaimed. Like when he's in a meeting sharing, he'll be like, and the way people think of a godless bastard like me, like he'll say it. Like he says it shamelessly and wonderfully. And but I just thought, what a great name for an episode, the godless, because he was fully on board. Like he was like,
Maybe
yeah.
put self-proclaimed at the end. Maybe I don't know. I'm
Well,
just
no,
kidding. I'm just
it
kidding.
says it in it.
I'm
If
just kidding.
somebody,
I'm kidding.
yeah.
It's funny. That's so funny.
So I took a little peek at what what things say the spiritual awareness is, and then I'll go into mine. Like spiritual awareness in recovery is the ongoing process of becoming more attuned to the presence, guidance, and grace of a higher power in our daily lives. It is the deepening of our conscious contact, not just through belief, but through lived experience. As described in step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him. And in doing so, we begin to notice subtle inner shifts, moments of clarity, peace in discomfort, and purpose in pain. Living Clean calls it a shift in how we experience the world and our place in it. Spiritual awareness is not the destination, it is the unfolding path of humility, willingness, and alignment. I love that there. The unfolding path of humility, willingness, and alignment. You know,
Yes.
um, so, kind of my buzz phrase the last couple of weeks has been about two-way prayer. And one of the things that I'm quickly getting results in that two-way prayer about, like the very first things I wrote down, it was like you have to put it up against the four absolutes of honesty, pure, unselfish, and loving. Try to write a list of your thoughts, man, and see how many of them are actually selfish. Like, how many of them are about you? Like, it is
Most.
like, yeah,
Most.
like I did it on the two-way prayer podcast, and I was like, oh, it was like my first step four. It really was. I was like, oh, look
You
at
start
me.
grabbing your little hairy god box and bringing it closer to you. You're like, oh, I'll just sit right here for a second.
It was amazing, and so um, you know that in itself, that very first act right there, brought about a spiritual awareness of my selfishness. Like when it says humility, willingness, and alignment. Like first of all, I'm not alignment in the universe's will if I'm acting completely selfish. I'm acting with no humility if I'm completely selfish, and you know, um, and my willingness to perform the universe's will, like live life on life's terms, is not very high if it's all about me.
No.
So, um, so it was like an immediate lesson, and so then the next day, it was like I could identify those selfish thoughts like as I was about to write them. I was like, oh, here we go. I would write it because part of the exercise is to write it,
Okay.
but I would
Okay.
cross it out right away. Like it
Okay.
wasn't even left on the list. And then,
I like
and,
that.
and then just in the period, like of 5 days, because that podcast happened Saturday and we're on a Wednesday, everybody, just in a period of 5 days, I've been able to shift my focus to trying to have my my actions and responses here from my questions in the two-way prayer to external things, and just that very act has really brought an awareness to me. Like it's one thing to think, oh yeah, let me be unselfish. It's another thing to be like, how can you help me be unselfish? And you start writing a list of potentially unselfish acts. Like really being like, okay, here's my time today. What can I do that's unselfish?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's you have your answer already kind of planned out.
Well,
Yeah.
but the thing is that, like, so what you do is you kind of like, you write out your questions,
Hmm.
you look at them, you're giving, you're taking some breaths, you're relaxing. A tense body will not give good results. Like it's one of the things they
Relax.
say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when your stream of consciousness, your answers, then you look back at it and reflect at them at like which one would be like, the most honest, the most pure, the most unselfish, the most loving.
Mhm.
Then it's like you got your chart for the day.
That's beautiful.
And then what you do is the next day you're going back and you're looking and saying, hey, did I just talk the talk or did I walk any of this walk? Like you look
Wow.
at your last list from the day before. So it's kind of like a spiritual step 10 in the morning. But it's like, hey, before I go fucking up the day all on my own, how about we work together here and maybe have a good map for a good day?
That's really cool, man.
It is.
That's really cool.
I'm telling you right now, goosebumps,
Bro,
goosebumps, goosebumps, life changing.
it's
Goosebumps, life
another
changing.
layer to conscious contact, I think. I think you're seeking out those answers to those possible issues beforehand just in case, and it makes you more awake to your situation and awoke at that moment for like anything that's going to happen because you're already going, hey, this might happen. How am I going to handle it? I
It's like
really really like
5 to
that.
7 minutes, man. 5 to 7 minutes in the morning, and you now have a template for today. And you could
That's
choose to
beautiful.
do it or not. But it's like
And then if
it's a
something like
game changer
outside
for every person I've ever talked to that does it.
And if something outside of that game plan comes in, it's like that next day, you're like, whoa, that was kind of crazy. Like you put it on that next day's list or whatever, you handle it, right? It's something
But
that you handle immediately.
it's also like when you do what's on that list and you see it work, when something unexpected comes up, you're like, oh, that's the same as that thing that I just did this to. And
Yeah,
you already know
I like
what's
that.
going to give you a wicked reaction, you know?
Hey, all right,
Yeah.
Sizzle Pants Starstick. I love that.
Ooh, I know.
Eh,
I'm telling
I
you,
love that.
I was like, he's going to love
Hey,
this.
and flash notice, I just got a notice that we're about to get maybe a little bit of company. So I'm just
Ooh,
letting you know. So yeah,
I love a
I'm
J double
excited.
J. Bring him in
Ooh,
today. A
he's
J
looking
double
for a
J.
shady
Bring him
spot.
in
He's
today.
looking for a shady spot. Looking for a shady spot. He'll be here in a minute.
J double J. Bring him in today. So,
Let's go.
so anyway, right now, on this path of spiritual awareness, is that I'm really taking a look. When it said humility, willingness, and alignment, the thing I love about that is that am I in alignment with honesty, pureness, unselfishness, or lovingness? Like,
Mhm.
I'm not just like, am I? Like, I'm writing this shit down now, and I'm like, cross it out, cross it out.
It's
And
awesome. It's awesome.
some of the stuff I'm not even, like some of the stuff I'm just like, no. Like
You
now I'm
don't
like,
let it. It's not weighing on your mental.
well, it's just like, it works. All I'm saying is it works.
Say,
It,
try
it,
it, motherfucker.
it's
Try it.
like you want to have like instead of like looking and being like, oh shit, at a list of things you've done for the day, or you want to like you want self-esteem, do esteemable things. Guaranteed, if you're doing things that are honest, pure, unselfish, and loving, you're gonna have some self-esteem.
Yeah, for
There's
sure. For
there's no
sure.
question. There's no
Yes.
question. It's not like, oh, maybe you'll feel okay once in a while, Andrew. No,
25%.
yeah.
25%.
So you want to throw a question at me and maybe Double J will jump in?
Hell yeah, hell yeah. So, when did you first begin to recognize the spiritual awareness in your recovery, and what that looked like for you?
The very first was in my surrender. It was that unmistakable speck of space that I refer to. Like, you know, that hamster wheel shutting down was like, whoa, I actually have A, mental energy to look at other things, and B, like, I'm not just fighting the incessant compulsion, obsession, everything, more, all the time. Like, yeah. And so, yeah, it was right there. And then, I have to say that it's continued with the pain and pleasure of every step that I've gone through. There hasn't been one that hasn't exhibited some sort of um, pain of scar removal and bliss and serenity of actuation. Both on every single one,
Yeah,
and
that's beautiful.
continuing to do so on deeper levels all the time.
That's dope. That's dope. I love you, man. I love you.
Oh, spoiler alert, dude! That guy from the two-way prayer, he's kind of old school, and he does 1 week sets of steps with his sponsees, 4 1-hour sessions. And listen to this. So we're gonna do 4 1-hour podcasts. I'm gonna do a set of steps live.
Wow, really?
Yeah, you want to come do on step working group?
Damn, that's crazy, man. That's bold. That's bold.
Yep, there we
That's
go.
cool though. That's cool. Hey, talk about being held accountable. So I'll ask myself, when did I first begin to recognize spiritual awareness in my recovery? And so and it wasn't this wow moment for me. Um, it came in these subtle moments. They talk about a spiritual awakening, and I remember reading that when I was in recovery, and I've talked on this podcast about how I had that spiritual awakening in treatment, and was watching those raindrops come down in slow motion, and it was wild. But as that rolls into other moments that I can tap into and understand the spiritual nature of them, it came in the quiet moments for me, man, because um uh when I was fucked up, man, I didn't have quiet moments. Like I would use drugs to try to find a quiet moment, right? And and so when I started having quiet moments clean, um those quiet moments hit different. And I remember being able to realize, oh, I see somebody popping in here. I see somebody popping in here. But yeah, I remember when I started having appreciation, and I remember being able to look back on these quiet moments and appreciating where I was in that moment and who I was with in those moments. And it wasn't something I had to search for. It was something that I could just tap into. That's how it began with me. And I was praying a lot at that moment too, but I wasn't getting any answers. I've talked about this before, where I was praying early, and I felt like the prayers were bouncing up against the ceiling and hitting me back in the face when I was praying. What's up, JJ? My
J double J
God,
in
there
my
it
heart
is.
today.
Hell yeah, in nature,
How
in
you doing,
nature.
hot dog?
Bro, he's
I'm
out
good, man.
riding around on his motorcycle and shit. Took some time
Woo!
out to come hang out with us today, man.
Look
I'm
at this
excited.
beautiful guy. You're looking all tan
Man,
and glistening.
Man,
man.
I just left cardio and I'm going to work, but I had to take time out for God and you guys.
Woo!
Yes, I love this
We
guy,
love
man.
it.
Right?
And it's crazy because my spiritual big brother is JJ, and we're talking about spiritual awareness today. And
Right.
before I get in, so JJ, we just opened up, and I just did my intro, and so did Milan, and then I just asked the first question. I was gonna maybe pass it to you real quick before we started getting around, because I want to just get your just overview on spiritual awareness, and then I'll ask you that first question if you want to kind of if you're ready.
I'm ready. Are we ever ready? The
Love you.
downstairs.
We
I
call
know
him
you guys.
Frying Pan JJ.
Yes.
Sizzling right in.
Love this guy, man. Love him.
Man, yeah. I had to get off the beaten path here, and I'm in a nice little spot.
Looking good, man. Looking
Look
really
here.
healthy.
Look here.
Ooh.
Oh, damn. Look at Serene. Talk about Serene. Look, my man brings
Yeah.
us backgrounds.
Plenty of serenity.
Serenity. Yeah, boy, I didn't have much whenever I was led to this program. And Andrew asked me again.
Yes, sir. So, just as an overview, what spiritual awareness means to you, and then I'm gonna ask you kind of a follow-up question. So, just give us kind of open on what that means to you in your life.
Okay. Well, very topical for today. The spiritual awareness was, the battle of decisions and the choice. Do I get this call to be and participate in this podcast, and I have my earthly human agenda, right? My to-do list, like everyone wakes up with. And so my sensitivity to the spiritual awareness is, and this is all about the third step, about understanding my will, God's will. And it's like, surrendering reluctantly. I mean, it's more often reluctantly than willingly, right? And so there's been so many times when, like if I'm in the midst of my agenda and I get a phone call from an addict, right? And it's like, I don't have time for this because I got my to-do list, right? And ever since being led to this program, my primary purpose is to stay clean. And I can't do that without surrendering to how I get to stay clean. And it's a spiritual freaking experience, man. Because, okay, I don't have time. Yeah, you got time. Pick the freaking phone up. And then I realized, wait a minute, this guy is sick. But my head was so far up my ass that I thought my priority is whatever. My primary purpose is to stay clean, And that's given me a life that I could only dream about before, So the peace and the serenity that results from every time I pay attention, right? And I think that, you said spiritual awareness is like, here's another opportunity. Am I going to be freaking spiritually dead through my own agenda, or am I going to risk what God has in store? Because I can tell you, there's never been a time when I've been interrupted that my earthly shit did not get taken care of. You know what I mean? And the fear that, oh God, like I won't be able to do this, pay the mortgage or whatever, right? No, it's not how it works, And I didn't know that before, and I still can forget it easily. Like I told you, I got 2 quotes to do today, right?
Yeah.
I told you I can't do this,
I know.
But it's like God gets in there, and I want to let him in. And the only way I let him in is by paying attention and surrendering. So I
And
don't
this
know,
leads
like,
me into my question. This leads me into my question. Continue, but how did you first begin to recognize spiritual awareness in your recovery? Kind of bleed into that question.
oh God, the very first meeting I sat in, and I was a little fucked up, but I felt something, I felt something, and I was told that I wasn't crazy. But I mean, by listening, I went, "Oh, you do that? You feel that? And you've been clean for 5 years?" And I remember thinking, like, well, I don't want to be clean for 5 years, but I sure like what I'm hearing.
I'm sorry.
you know. And
Know about that 5-year plan, but I'm good for today.
but I felt like I felt a connection to all these freaking people, that was in this. It was in a church, and it was the predecessor fellowship. I'm so grateful for, you know, and our 12-step fellowships are all about the spirit waking up. So that was the first time, and you've had me think of a couple things. I don't want to hold time. I know I want to share.
Just go, JJ. We want you.
Keep going, man. Go, babe. That's what you're here for.
Read that question again.
When did you first begin to recognize spiritual awareness in your recovery?
Okay.
And what did that look like for you?
So that was the first time. Okay. Like immediately, right? Being in the presence of this fellowship, I felt something, right? And I can't deny that. I mean, I don't think there's an addict that ever walks in a room. Again, it's the matter of fighting it, being rebellious and going, no, 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 it's not me. But anyway, the second time, well, let me share this. I don't know. I'm sure there were all kind of awakenings because you do when you realize your zipper's up, and your socks match. You know, for me, it's like, wow, man.
And
There's a
you did that
change
without
going on,
having to think about it. And I put my socks on right.
right? And
That's
and
crazy.
and that but they're the right spirits are waking up at that. It's like, boy, I had no idea how sideways I was. I'm justifying all this bullshit life, and so by one day at a time, staying clean. So I think it was in my second year, I had been asked by a brother who had been to the spiritual retreat up on Spruce Knob, the highest point in West Virginia, right? And just the trip up, and I was on my Honda Shadow then, uh, and just the drive up to Spruce Knob, man, is a spiritual experience, right? And so, and there was probably 30 people at this weekend retreat, and I didn't know but maybe 4 of the people. So right there, it's like, okay, where do I fit in? This is a little uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But I have a tremendous desire to stay clean. I trust the brother that told me to come to this event because it would rock my world, and it did. And so the very first morning, it was a Friday night, and the cat I met that said he was going to go up on the knob, watch the sun come up. And there were 4 or 5 other people. And whatever time it was, like 5 in the morning, I'm in my tent, and it was a little bit misty raining out. But, I hear this tag in my tent, and Rob says, we're going, you know. And right then, I could have gone back to sleep, but my spirit woke up, and I wanted to be on top of the knob to see the sun come up. Like, what a trip, right? So I got in the vehicle with these people in the back of the pickup. There was probably 6 of us. And we took the half-hour ride up to the top. And there's this circle loop that, and I'm going through all these changes in early recovery, right? It's like, God, who am I? And I'm a freaking wreck. I don't trust my thinking. I don't trust. I just don't. I'm in new territory and
Yeah, you're in.
a
Yeah.
strange land, right? But
Mhm.
but here I'm in this incredible, natural freaking God's country, and I got separated from the people, right? I mean, I got
Mm.
separated. I think I probably separated myself, right? Like, you know,
Running it on his program.
that's right.
Mhm.
But again, it was a God thing for me because like my purpose was I felt how I felt, and I needed to get close. And I remember that. And by the way, it was misty and it was raining. There was no sun coming up this morning.
Uh-oh.
All right. So I had walked on this trail, and there was this little clearing that opened up that if I could have seen out, I would have seen out. But I remember I was just so conflicted, and I just so much wanted to be free. And I'm just like, help me, like, God, please help me. And I remember just closing my eyes, and I'm praying, and I don't know that I'm praying, but I'm praying.
Mhm.
And and trusting myself was like the major conflict for me. Is like, everything I've done up to this point is fucked up my life and everyone that's involved in it. And this has never happened since. But as I said, help me, help me, please. You know, how do I trust myself? And I heard myself say, I heard a voice. This has never happened again, but it said, trust God and love yourself. And I went, love myself. And still today, like, you know, we were on the meeting last night, and it's about our ability to find love for ourselves, to take care of ourselves. And that to me was like God's message, man. He said, you know, you can't trust yourself, you know, and be careful of trusting anybody else. Trust me. Come to me with your problems, right? And just work on loving yourself. Because if I'm loving me, then I'm loving you. And believe me, that was an experience. And with that ring in my ear every day, you know, in my every action and in my every word, you know, my life would be beautiful, you know, but, you know, I can't take it away, you know, that. So, so that's another answer to that question.
Bro, first off, I have fucking goosebumps right now. And as I'm watching you answer this question, JJ, this ray of light comes down and like zaps you in the face as you're like, oh, like it was just amazing. Like when I watch it back, y'all are gonna see exactly what I'm talking about. You just talked about that moment, and I felt every piece of that, man. I felt every piece of that, and that's the beautiful thing that we can do. Like I was kind of answering that question too, and I'll just quickly answer the rest of that question, Milan, so we can get back and get it going back around. That's the same thing with me. Like, fuck, man. Like, first off, I was just able to be in that moment with you right there, right? And that's when I started to answer my question, and that's when I started realizing is when I can be in these small moments that I used to fly through in active addiction. I would plow through these moments, and I started realizing, and I started remembering these small moments, and they started layering up for me. And that's when I started realizing that like I was becoming, you know, I was awakening my spirit, man. I was awakening that spirit. It wasn't about like ego. It wasn't about, you know, when I was started helping people and stuff like that. It wasn't about my ego anymore. I remember that switch when it was no longer about my ego. And then JJ hit it on the head. It's about staying clean. Staying clean must come first. And my literature tells me, like, if I don't give the shit away that I'm giving, like, I'm gonna lose it, which is part of staying clean. Like, I gotta keep it. So what? So that right there was the layered kind of thing for me, where I could realize what these small moments meant for me in that moment, staying consciously connected in every single moment, because I can now understand and realize and appreciate them for what they are right then. You know, not about like what I'm going to be doing or what I'm coming from, but right then, what I was doing right then. And I just remember there was a shift at it was like 3 or 4 months when I used to pray. And I don't know if I've told you this, JJ, but I used to pray early on, and I felt like they would like hit the ceiling and bounce back and hit me in the face. I just felt like I wasn't getting answers from this thing. And I remember when that changed, man. I remember that change, and part of that was recognizing these small moments, knowing that was part of me being consciously connected. But then being able to, but when I started praying to keep, not just to like get me out of problems or troubles, I would pray for those good moments to continue, like and be able to still tap into those small moments. That's when it changed for me, and I realized I started getting answers in those small moments, and that's what really kind of awoke in my spirit, like just to kind of finish that answer. So, bro, I love you, JJ, and I'm so glad you came here
Yeah,
today.
JJ.
So
God
glad you
damn it.
came, bro.
Your brothers love
Man,
you, man.
man, I love you so much, bro.
Yeah.
Trip is
Okay,
a
okay.
gift.
I'm going to roll into the next question, and I'll ask JJ, and we'll kind of go
Yes.
Andrew, you, me, JJ, in that order.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So the more we become spiritually, oh, sorry, wrong one. Spiritual awareness isn't an awakening that happens once. It's a daily returning to the present moment with intention. How do you maintain spiritual presence in the midst of life's busyness, JJ?
I think it's a pain response, bro.
I'm
You know,
doing it right now.
for real, you know, it's like, yeah. Um, you know, an old timer early on told me to pay attention, and I try to do that more, you know, and staying connected with, you know, with men and women that are in recovery. Um, I get reminded to stay in the moment, you know, the reflection of their effort. Um, helps me to get there. You know, and I used to pray in my early recovery. Andrew was reminding me, I used to spend serious time, and I think it's part of my process. I would like to return to the devotion of the time, because I know that I grew during those times. What I think I can accept is that I am more prayerful throughout each day now. You know, where I would take a half hour, I would candlelight, I would really try to shut it down. I would try to get behind the waterfall of my, you know, relentless thinking, you know, and just hear the water
Like an event.
like an event. Well, I remember someone told me that that was a wonderful way to clear my mind, was to imagine, you know, a serious waterfall and to be able to climb in behind it, like a path behind the waterfall. And like as tons or gallons of water is washing in front of me, it's taken all the thoughts away, and I'm just listening to the waterfall. And I remember that that was a way that I could connect with my higher power.
Well,
And I would do that. And you know, and I think that, like I said, I'm aware I could criticize myself and say, you don't pray like you used to, you know, and I don't pray like I used to. I pray like I do today, which is more in trust and belief that when something is not going the way I want it to, it's because there's something going on. You know, like God's got a freaking rhythm, man, every day, right? And I have to be open to listening and accepting the guidance. You know, that's part of being grateful. You know, grateful addict will never use. For me to be thankful in everything that happens, not for it. And we've shared this before, you know, and it's a belief in spirit. Like the sun comes up every freaking day and goes down, and I don't have to touch it or have anything to do with it, you know. And so, you know, that rhythm and 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 my God, as I understand them, you know, I've got a number of different ways to connect, you know, with the God that I believe in. There's the Holy Spirit, you know, there is the spirit I see in my brothers and my sisters, you know. There's the Father God that brings the sun up and down. I don't know, and I can't, you know, I used to need a bag of freaking dope, man, and a big bottle, unbreakable plastic vodka, and they don't work anymore.
just to get through the day.
Just to get through the day, and
Crazy.
I'm free. And but if I don't practice these principles, and again, you know, like you interrupted my day today, right? Come
Thank
on,
you.
man. You know,
Hey,
look
you're
what.
welcome. Hey, you're welcome. You're
Thank you.
welcome.
You know. Yeah, and that's what I mean, is that, you know, our human brains want to judge the way it should be instead of like paying attention to God's will. You know, in our third step there, you know, it's so beautiful where it says what we're really making is a decision. This is in the flat book, the step guide. And I know we talked about it maybe last time, because it rocked me, where turn my whole will and my life over to the care of God. It says we're making a simple decision to change direction. Quit rebelling. Quit rebelling against the natural flow of life, is what it says. I mean, that's the clue. Like, God's got a flow. Do I want to be in the stream or swimming up against it?
Stop swimming up tide, man. What are you doing swimming up tide? You're going backwards. What are you
That's a,
doing?
it's a choice each of
And you're
us have.
twice as wore out.
Yes,
What's wrong
right,
with you?
right.
A guy said at a meeting I was at on Monday night, he said it was told to him when he was really young in sobriety, and this guy's got like 30 something years, and he said surrender is joining the winning team.
Yeah,
Yeah. 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 It's wild how people really fight so hard, tooth and nail, until they can finally do that. And some people never do it. Some people never do it. It's wild. It's wild.
and
You
what's important is for me to know, am I that person you just talked about? Because I am, any
yeah,
point of a day, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't have this. What you just said is like, some people don't do it. Well, let that not be me right now.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
Just for right now, right? Because we don't know what's gonna happen coming up, right? Like for right now, you'd be all right. That's why it's just for today, JJ. I love you, man. I fucking love you. I'm so glad
Woo.
that God brought you on this door. Look, God speaks through people, man. And
Yes, he does.
so it is what it is. Are you gonna ask me a question, Milan?
Yeah, spiritual awareness isn't an awakening that happens once. It's a daily returning to the present moment with intention. How do you maintain spiritual presence in the midst of life's busyness?
Yeah, so great question. That's where when the just like JJ just said, that was a beautiful picture of how you can do that, being behind the waterfall. Like I can feel the rumbling of the mountain behind me and the waterfall going over, and it's so loud. It's so loud. And so that kind of drowns out those thoughts, and it just really gets you tapped into like you wanting to be able to live in that present moment, right? Not fall off that cliff at that moment, right? Just stay tapped in, right? And it's beautiful because as life is spinning around me constantly, and I'm understanding this world is moving around me, whether I want to be in it or not, it was finding peace in the quiet moment, right? It's finding peace in those quiet moments and being able to shut the world off and being able to tap into something otherworldly, right? It's really cool how these questions just roll into each other, and how what JJ was just talking about is exactly what it is, right? The quiet moments, hearing my spirit say, "Don't go there," when I'm about to act out on an old behavior. You know what I mean? Like realizing that my anger was really fear. You know, when I want to lose it, and I'm angry at everything, and it's really just because I'm afraid.
Right.
You know, what am I doing? Right? I've got to understand that I'm not like all these thoughts and actions that I'm having, like I can either roll with this thing or I can get thrown in jail and be a byproduct of life. Right? Like that just the taxpayers are gonna pay for my meals every day, which I don't even like the meals that I'm gonna be eating if I'm in jail, right? Like come on. Come on, man. So it's sensing love in the words of another addict who's hurting and can't even give love. You know what I mean? These moments are small. They're so small, man, but they're the beginning to being able to awaken who you are and give some clarity to your life, and being able to understand that, like, that dude that's blowing by people on the interstate and about to get in an accident, like he's been doing that all day. Like you got to let him go. You know, the world is going, like it's happening right now. You know, and so you got to stay tapped into what you have going on, right? Like me, I'll keep it on me. I got to stay tapped into what I have going on, and if I can understand that, like, these simple moments are not something to be like, that's bored, you're lame, you're not doing anything. No, 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 no. No, I'm peaceful today, man. I have found peace. I found peace. If and because of this program, right? These things that I'm learning as I'm doing this step work, and it says you're guaranteed, JJ, that if you work these steps, you're gonna have a spiritual awakening. It's guaranteed. Not like you might. So work these steps. You don't know what spirituality is. You don't know you don't have a God in your life. You don't have something that you can pray to that answers your prayers, like it comes to you with some kind of calm voice. Work these steps, please. Please work these steps. Because if you do that honestly for yourself, you're going to get your life back. It's the keys to freedom. We talk about it all the time. And so, realizing that kind of stuff, where when I'm getting ready to do something ill-advised, when my spirit comes in and just slows me down, it's like, hey, bro, like, what are you doing? You know, that's what I have today, man. I have all that, man. And I have you to thank, man. JJ, you prayed me up in here. I wouldn't have this if you didn't pray me here. So I realize that too. Thankful for that. All them prayers that got me in here, man, and my prayers, and my sponsors' prayers and prayers. I'm fully aware. I wouldn't have exactly what I'm talking about right now if I didn't get that on at the beginning. So, thank you. That was a great question.
I'm gonna do.
You're muted.
Spiritual awareness isn't about an awakening that happens once. It's a daily returning to the present moment with intention. How do I maintain spiritual presence in the midst of life's busyness? Well, the first thing for me is that I have like a really tight start to my day. Like I have an alarm set, even on the days that I'm not wanting to get up, which most days I get up. But I make sure that I'm doing the things that helps get me fit. And and now, one of the cool things is I've embarked on the galaxy of two-way prayer, man. And in this two-way prayer, gosh, it sure makes maintaining that spiritual presence through the day super easy. If I listen to those responses and I'm trying to live out those responses in my day. Because if I'm living out those responses in my day, I can feel those spiritual principles and that presence in so many of my actions throughout the day. And it's a big game changer for me. And so, you know, um, I think part of it, is that prayer and meditation. But now for me, it's an implementation of listening for the response and acting that out.
You heard of that two-way prayer, JJ? And I'm
No,
not. I'm not gonna open.
no, Milan, would you break it down?
Okay, breaking it down. Get yourself to a quiet spot first thing in the morning, right? Okay, let's see. Okay. So you get yourself to a quiet spot, take a few deep breaths, right? You kind of start off with a bit of prayer and maybe asking questions, things that are like things that you want to change about life, things that you're wondering about life, right? So like for this morning, right? For me, I have got Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. It says, thank you for the privilege to help and serve today. How can I bring love into today and release anger? How can I become tolerant and accepting? And how can I deepen my surrender? Those are the questions that I got, right? Now I take a few moments and just like kind of meditate on that. And I mean just a couple minutes you take. And then you start stream of consciousness writing. So then my responses that started coming out, give my will to the moment, listen rather than talk, be of service, create space in the day for life. See,
You're writing this. You're writing this
this
down,
is these points are coming out of me after I do a little meditation for a
and
couple minutes.
you're writing.
And I'm writing it, yeah, like bullet points, like just, or you
I
can't
got
see
you.
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
so I'm like, create space in the day for life. See others acting in love to me and not seeking to hurt me. Create gratitude in smaller intervals. Let go of my rope more often. Do not judge but love and seek to understand. So that's what came to me. And then what you do is you look at those responses and you put them against the four absolutes of honest, pure, unselfish, and loving. And if they're not all four of those, it's definitely your will. Like God's will has the test of those four things, right?
right.
And so, and then it's like, okay, now if I actually want solutions to those questions I've asked, I do those things that are in my bullet points
Like
or try
proactive
to.
prayer. It's like
Yeah.
a proactive form of
Yeah.
prayer.
Yeah.
And
No,
they just
I
did a
get it.
podcast
Yeah.
on it too.
It
Yeah,
was,
it's stuff to go watch.
yeah, there's a couple podcasts ago, there was a guy from Texas who came on. It was basically something started by the Oxford group. And then it's only mentioned kind of like, I think in the AA book it says test your ideas or something like that. It has like one line, but it's like, well, how do you test them? Well, you
Right.
test them by this with the four
JJ knows about
absolutes.
that. Yep,
Yeah,
JJ knows all about that Oxford group. Come on now.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so yeah, that's beautiful. And so it's labeled two-way prayer, JJ. It's like one of the it's like the second one from this one. So you can kind of really
Yeah.
dive into it. But hell yeah, that's dope.
But there's also like twowayprayer.org, and they have like,
Mm-hmm.
they have a nice little 4-page thing you can print out to do it. And I just printed it
Hell
out
yeah.
and started doing it. And then you're supposed to start by doing a reading. So the reading that from the list or whatever that that I picked is the Corinthians 13 about love. You know that
Hmm?
one, JJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because for me, I never read that before, and when I read that on Saturday, I realized, man, maybe I've never truly loved in my whole life. Like I
What
thought I loved.
do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, you want me to
Yeah,
read it?
we'll read it for the people that would watch this
Yeah,
podcast.
sure. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self seeking. It is not easily angered, and it keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put away the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Whew, I barely made it through there without
Bro,
crying.
I did too. Oh my God. JJ, I think you've sent me the piece of that passage before in a text message. I'm not even joking. I think I can find it if I had to. You've sent me part of that before.
Like, so for me, when I read that, JJ, and then I'm looking at these four absolutes that I'm trying to look at this stream of consciousness writing against. Well, dude, if that ain't the best definition of love, to make sure I'm nubbin or not,
Mm,
like man, just
mm,
about every sneaky little way you can subvert your love is listed in that thing.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know and
Yeah.
that's what I love about it. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm being loving, and then I'm like, whoa, whoa,
What is
whoa.
that, Milan? That's Corinthians what?
It's First Corinthians 13, like 1 Corinthians 13. But yeah, like for me, it's just like a deeper definition of me to act from. And if I want change, then it's like get my mind in the state of change. Like it's I if you don't know what perfection is, how do you know you're progressing? Right? Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
even if people are like, okay, you don't have to progress towards perfection, just progress. How do you know you're progressing if you don't know what the ideal state is?
You don't know where you're going. Yeah, you don't know
Yeah.
what you're going towards.
Yeah.
what I relate to when it states put down the things of a child
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
is my
Yep.
clean date. Is my clean date.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's when that occurred.
You
You
Yeah.
became a
know,
man. Yep.
and it's now time for us to grow up and be the men and the women that we were intended to be.
And now it's our part, JJ. Right?
Yeah.
It's our part.
Well,
Yeah.
and right after that, it says, "For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror; then we shall see face to face."
Ooh,
Like
face to face in the mirror. Ooh, that's so hard.
until we can see
Like a
ourselves,
mirror, face
we
to
can we
face.
can never even look out at you. Like that's kind of. And now
Well,
I know in part; then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known.
I
Woo!
can't even sit still right now.
It's that like, man,
I
I'm
can't.
like, whoever
We could do a
wrote
whole
that.
podcast
Oh,
on that whole shit right there. We could do a
that.
whole podcast.
Yeah.
the number of addicts have you heard that say, I could not look myself in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
That's who I'd become, and this process of having a clean date, making a commitment, to pay
Guarding
attention.
that clean date, man. Guard
Yeah.
that clean date like
Yeah,
your life depends on it, man. Because it
I mean,
does.
it really does. The change and the growth into really receiving what it's about. It's amazing. That's why I'm so grateful to be an addict. I mean, we are so freaking blessed. That and and like it or not, everyone's on some spiritual path or another, right? and there's no judgment. You know, we all like Andrew, whoever you were talking about. Some don't, some this, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm some of them people sometime at any moment, right? And like for me, the blessing, and it's tragic though, for me, in our world of addiction, you know, coming to a place, man, where we can reach ground zero and then begin to create a new past, and it's with a clean day, right?
Mm.
But we have a gun to our head.
Yeah.
There's people on other spiritual paths, you know, it's like we will fucking die, motherfucker. We will die
Yeah.
because ultimately it's not a matter of just backsliding. It is backsliding, but we
Mm.
backslide into, you know, into death. I mean, into a pit.
Yeah.
This is our 1 second shot. This is our one
It's our-
second shot that we got.
it is, and I mean, and it's not that you would wish everybody had this incurable disease of addiction, but here once again, the gratitude. I'm so grateful in it because it's freaking loaded with peace and a way through and a way out and a way to receive.
We're
And
better people than if we even had the disease to begin with, JJ.
that's my observation.
Come
And again,
on.
you know, it is. It
Two,
is.
two, 2.5 weeks ago, JJ, I went to the AA World Conference in
I know you
Vancouver,
did. I know you did.
50,000 people.
and
I know you did. I
yeah,
thought about you.
and it was, but unbeknownst to me, some of the conference was in the hotel that I died in the day that like my turning point was. And not only that, I found this out walking up to it in the middle of the night at the same time that I died. And so it was like I had to like I'm
That's
getting
crazy.
goosebumps. Like I'm walking up to the hotel on the road. I could see my hotel room window, and I'm like, I guess there was a lot of pain still there, but dude, it really made me recognize how amazing, like how much gratitude I have for that being my turning point.
You know, I mean, to have that experience, you
It's
know, to me,
insanity.
again, it's a snapshot of, yes, it's confirmation.
Yeah,
It's, you know, it's being spiritual aware for you. You know, the fact that you're sharing that story instead of like missing it, you know,
yeah.
and it's more confirmation that, you know, there's a rhythm and that there's a rhyme, and I want to be part of it. You
Hmm.
know,
You're doing the
that's,
right things, Milan. It's just a confirmation you're doing the right things, bro.
that's beautiful, man. What an experience.
Oh yeah.
It was, I'm so grateful. And then I walked into this marathon meeting. Like this was 10 to 2 in the morning. And
Right.
I got there or 2, I walked in the doors. Before I sat down, they were like, hey, come up and share at this podium. I get up and I share what was going on with me and what had happened and how that was a turning point and how, you know, like
Wow.
So true.
how
So
grateful I
true.
was for the program. And then after that meeting, there was like 15 minutes between all the marathon meetings in that room. Like everybody could go to the bathroom, and this guy who had been given a ticket and like 3 weeks into the program, he comes up. He's like, man, maybe this is my turning point.
That, that's
Wow.
beautiful,
That's
man.
beautiful, man. That's so beautiful, dude.
It, you know, it is. It's the connection, and that. I mean, to this whole topic of being spiritually aware, it's simply that. It's like seeing our reality. You know,
Well,
taking the note instead of missing it. It's not a coinky dink. You
yeah,
know, there
And you were
is
using, you would never be in that position to do that for that man or anybody.
yeah,
no,
yeah.
And
no,
now look at you, man. Look at you.
yeah.
It's beautiful, man.
And it's by accident. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
you
You
know.
didn't even know you're supposed to be in that same building kind of thing. And
I
you
went to the
probably
wrong building.
you probably rehearsed this whole thing
Yeah,
about
you
what you
did.
were gonna say, and
Yeah,
you
you
but
did.
by the time you get there and you're like, oh my God, like God hit you in the back of the head and was like, bro, I didn't go on vacation, put you in charge.
Yeah,
Come on, man. So look, I figured JJ,
yeah,
you might not have any questions. I was gonna ask the question for JJ and then just roll around that way
yeah,
and just
yeah,
keep it that way.
yeah,
So this is JJ asking me the question because then we're gonna
yeah,
ask you, Milan, and then
yeah.
JJ will ask me.
So,
So this is JJ's question. What role does spiritual awareness play in how I handle conflict today?
hey, nice one, JJ.
Nice one, JJ. I'm going to answer that question. I'm glad you came up with that question.
I
So
love the
before
question.
I love you guys, man. So before I, conflict was like this battlefield for me, right? Like conflict was like I was going to war before, right? And how I reacted and how other people reacted was like an act of war. And so my default is to like lash out and completely shut down and burn the house down, burn the whole shit down. And that's where that ego, pride, we talk about it all the time. Ego edges got out. Pride, one of the primary reasons I die early. That shit was all that when I was in active addiction. And coming out of it, spiritual awareness allows me to approach those conflicts with a completely different mindset. One rooted in humility, empathy and clarity. And empathy, right? Not sympathy, not feeling sorry for that person, but actually putting myself in their shoes. That's a different avenue to come from mentally. And it's all about that spiritual awareness, right? When a conflict shows up, I can pause, I can step back and understand what this might do to me going forward. How's it going to affect me and my family, the people around me? How am I really feeling in the situation? What's my part in it? Really address what my part is before I act. And am I acting out of fear and insecurity, or am I acting out of love, out of a place of unconditional love? And is what I'm getting ready to do worth my serenity? Right, that's big. Right, like if this is what I'm getting ready to do, I'm gonna take my peace away from me. And so when I used to reflect on those parts before, it was impossible for me. But spiritual awareness brings me back to the truth of the situation. I can always apply honesty and truth to any situation and know I'm going to be okay, right? Because I'm not using and I'm doing the footwork. And so as long as I'm honest with myself, I can continue to grow. The moment I start being untrustworthy and unhonest, being not saying the right things or not being truthful, I've got a problem. I find myself not being able to tap in spiritually at that point. But one of the most powerful shifts for me was realizing that conflict doesn't have to be a threat, right? It can be an actual tool to grow. Conflict doesn't have to be this thing that bogs me down and then I have to like fight through it. And then I'm like, oh shit, man, I'm glad I got through that. I hope that doesn't happen again. No, I can actually grow from it. I can actually use it as a stepping stone to grow as a person, as a human being, and know that, when something like that comes up next time, I've already got an avenue to get through it in a healthy way. And no, I'm not going to I'm going to be helping people out around me while doing it. And so that's just a big shift for me. Um, um, I have a deep patience today for things that I didn't have before. So that was a great question, JJ. I don't know where you came up with that, but I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you dug deep.
Would you like to ask Milan that question now?
Through Andrew's voice.
So what role from West Virginia, what role does spiritual awareness play in how you handle a conflict today, Milan?
Woo-wee. Well, I think I just, pulled down my pants and showed everybody what my morning was like. And that, that one, the one part where it's like, how can I bring love into today and release anger? It's just something that's a work in progress, man. But for me, it's essentially me trying to pray for the help of the removal of these shortcomings, and that prayer come from how to actually enter into the situations in a better frame of mind, but also with a greater principled reaction. Like basically, I think that there's really some insights that it's like, for me, a big insight that came to me a few days ago is, I grew up in a very rough city. I was very much bullied. I very much turned and bullied the next generation. Like I was all part of that cycle. I fought every week for over a decade of my life. And I realized I have the fundamental belief that most people are trying to hurt me with what they're saying to me. And it's just like me trying to unlearn that. Like if I am making this assumption that there's something hurtful in what you're saying to me or the way you're talking to me, then I'm going to come out fist flying, you know? And it's about changing my perception of your intention. You know, like me thinking I know that you're going to hurt me is me inside your mind and you're a freaking robot. You're not even
Yeah.
getting a chance, right? And so it's first of all, I'm addressing it in that two-way prayer, right? Like that's my first step. And I'm coming up like I'm part of this group, step working group right now. And we're going to be up at step 4 in the next few weeks. And so my step 4 this time, I'm going to do on my beliefs versus just on my resentments. It's actually like I've got some core beliefs that aren't serving me anymore. And I'm really becoming aware how they're not serving me by even just opening my mind to looking at them, you know? Like it was when I heard that one speaker, and then I started looking at my stuff, and I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not, it's not even on my cognitive or like my surface conscious level, but it's how I'm reacting. It's like, so now I'm starting to look at my reactions and I'm like, what is causing this reaction? And it's a belief that I have to defend myself,
Well,
you know? I,
Yeah.
and I don't have to in most
It's your gut
circumstances.
reaction. It's your gut
Yeah,
reaction.
yeah. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, I think that's my answer for that one. I think
Hell
that's
yeah.
kind of answered it in a
I
roundabout
like
sort of
it.
maybe
I
kind of
love
way.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. All right, JJ, you're gonna ask yourself now. You ready?
I'm ready.
So, JJ, what role does spiritual awareness play in how you handle conflict today? And tell us about that.
Well, what role does spiritual awareness have? It resolves the conflict, and conflict is it's it's part of life. I mean, as I think about it, I'm less conflicted since I got here because I've eliminated the major source of conflict, which is the chemicals, and then to work on my behavior. Um, there's a spiritual axiom in the 12 and 12 of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's in the 10th step. And it says something like, if there's something pissing me off, a person, place, or thing that I'm in conflict with, there's something wrong with my spiritual condition.
Mm-hmm.
And what a note to freedom, because when I'm in conflict with myself. Milan just described, a lot of beautiful ways. I wish, um, well, you did, and I'm thinking, where do I? Because I don't like conflict. I don't know that some people do. Some people absolutely. It's a power trip, you know. And when I often when I'm in conflict, this is what I made a note here as I was listening to both of you, is that it relates to the first step. Again, when I'm in conflict with a person, place, or thing, or situation, I'm trying to have some power. I'm trying to manage, you know, myself. I'm trying to feel, where do I fit in? And and if I got to assert myself to fit in, and based upon what I believe, and I love this program in the first and second step, where it's suggested that we have a belief system, right? And we are in the midst of changing it. It continues to change, you know. Um, this admitting the truth with reluctance is part of that. Things have to change. I have to, it sort of like, right, I can't stay clean on yesterday's freaking teaching. I can't stay high on the dope I did yesterday because it's gone,
Friends do every day.
right? Rents due every day. So I have to earn and learn every day. And that creates a freaking conflict because I think I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. I was thinking about I need to make a living, and I started doing something on my own, and it was bigger than me, and we now have 30 people doing it. So that means like I'm like a leader and a manager of people, and like, are you kidding me? I'm fucking powerless and
Crazy.
unmanageable, right? And so the conflicts that I've had with the individuals that I want it, I want things to be done in a certain way. If we're doing, you know, trying to accomplish a job, and um, and again, it doesn't. The conflict, we can justify all we want. Like, you're being an asshole, so I'm gonna be an asshole, a bigger asshole than you. To overwhelm, you're a fucking
I'm gonna
asshole.
teach you.
Yeah, and that just doesn't work. And we learn that, when peace and serenity and joy, right? The definition for sanity for me, when I honor that, which to me again, that's being spiritually aware, right?
Hmm?
And when I look at our picture as addicts, we are used to chaos. We are used to pain, right? So us even recognizing that we're sitting in our own shit. But the program continues. Like, the inventory step is about me, motherfucker, not you. I'm taking
Mhm.
my inventory. You might be on my list, but it ain't. I'm not taking your inventory. I'm taking mine, and that's
Mhm.
a teaching. Like, I had to learn that, and because the minute that I am accountable for my part, I'm not your victim anymore. You know, and do I want to be right about telling you you're a dick? Or you hurt me, or do I want to be free? You know,
Oh yeah. Oh
be
yeah.
be accountable for myself. And boy, it really is. I think my fear, um, will propel me into conflict. I, I think Milan mentioned that. Um, and here you reminded me of the story and the belief, right? Like, right, I'm in conflict with the fucking gas pump, right? Because it's asked me the question, do I want to use the card that I put in? Remember?
Yeah.
I put my MasterCard in. Do you want to use your MasterCard? Well, I'm in fucking conflict, man. I'm going to chain this fucking pump up, and I'm going to pull it out of, right?
Yes, I want to use the card I just put in there.
Yes, I do. And what do you think? I'm stupid? And that's my belief system, right? Like, when you were saying that like, you don't trust people, don't want to hurt you, right? Like, you feel you have to defend yourself, right? Like, somewhere in there, there's in our literature, I wish I could tell you where it is, but I've read it in two different spots. It refers to our disease as an awful emptiness, right? So if I think that you are out to get me because I'm empty, right? I'm not full enough to know that, no, I'm okay. I don't have to
Yeah.
defend myself. I'm okay.
You're
You
not
know,
coming to the table. You're not coming to the table on that relationship as an equal
no,
at that
no,
point, right? Because you're right because you don't feel worthy of the love that's coming to the table at that relationship.
right. So, right. And so it's right back to that message that he told me, right? Trust me and love yourself. Just love yourself, buddy. Realize that you have a lack of love and acceptance. Let it in.
You're
Let
worth it.
let me fill you up. Yes, you are worth it. And nobody can tell me I'm worth it. There was someone on a meeting last night that said, "Tell me I'm worth sponsorship and love and so
You
forth."
already. Oh, that's our favorite person.
And I responded only, well, and she had already left. But again, God put that, like there's nothing wasted. Like, for her to put me through the thinking about it brought me to this place that you can tell me I'm worthy. Milan can tell me I'm worthy. But until I
If you
know
don't
it,
know it, yeah.
yeah,
What are you? We're not.
yeah,
We're skirting. We're just rubbing
yeah,
tires, man. We're not doing anything.
that's
No
right. And
traction.
and Milan's gonna think that right, the people are attacking him, right?
Yeah.
So he has to know that he's worth it. And that's what this process is, admitting the truth. Oh, is that really how I believe? Because I had that. that freaking conflict with the gas pumps a year and a half. And it was in the one day, and Trey was with me, and she just reflected. It was that mirror now. She's going like, "Are you for real?" And I had to stop and
He
think
drives
it
by
through.
the gas tank and like throws a rock at it now when he drives by it, like just to
No,
like make sure he remember. Like I remembered that shit.
I
Boy,
You
had
go
so
you go to a different gas station.
go to a whole different. Don't even go down that route
no. They
anymore.
all
Like fuck
asked
that
the
gas
same.
station.
They all asked the same question.
And
And
you come with cash.
here's my response today. I'm at
Not
peace.
paying shit in this
I
gas
say I say thank you for asking me. I just answered yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to use the one. It was that simple. It
Yeah.
was that simple. But my belief system was that it thought I was stupid enough to want to use a different fucking car.
You're like, do you want to use that man's right there? That's do you want to use his car? Or do you want to use your car? That's
You
funny.
know, and I mean, it was all in my head. So Milan, I love you, bro, and I will pray that you realize you can take the boxing gloves off. You do not need that against the rest of humanity, your brothers and
Yeah.
sisters on the planet, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's awesome. All right, so
love it.
it's my turn to ask you a question, Milan. Right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm
how
ready.
does spiritual awareness help you stay clean when you get triggered?
Man, okay. I haven't been triggered. I don't
Well,
know.
then maybe triggered bad behavior. Bad
Like
whatever. When you get triggered,
I
the great
literally
insight.
haven't had any desire, obsession, or nothing to ever use. So I'm really happy in my surrender for that. But for sure, when it triggers shortcomings and defects, right? Like it it's helping me pause more than anything. At this point, it's helping me pause, and that awareness that my reaction is not like my defective or shortcoming reaction is not something that I can stand behind now. It's like, I've looked in the window of the room and I've seen my part in that, and I can't unsee that now. And the longer inside my program, the more quickly I'm seeing like, oh shit, don't want to do that. Oh shit, that's me again. Oh shit, oh yeah, look at me go. And so I mean, it's really a big thing of identifying. It's right now that awareness is helping me identify that I either need to change route, make amends, or back off. And a lot of times right now, it's as simple as back off.
So, love
Mm,
you, man. Love
love
you.
you too.
Are you ready, JJ?
Yeah, bro, I think so. I had to shift and get out of the sun there a little bit.
Don't you fall in that river.
He's going for a swim. We're gonna have like JJ swimming out there, back paddling
Just
his next dance
glistening,
here.
just glistening. Woo-wee. You see him like on the rope swing.
Woo!
So your question, JJ, is how does spiritual awareness help you stay clean or out of character defects when you're starting to come on a trigger, when you're starting to either feel triggered or feel apt to going down one of those bad behaviors? How does spiritual awareness help you stay tapped in?
I think it's being honest with myself on my peace and serenity levels. Um, I'm not triggered to use at all. I am aware of situations that I might have in the past, but it's just not even a thought. And the peace and serenity that I've been able, that I've been given, man, really, just through our process, through our fellowship, while I participate in life, like I've got a very full life. And so I just really think it's a choice, right? And it begins with me not using today to then choose, do I want to be angry? Do I want to be afraid? There's a number of things going on today that, the fear will creep in. It makes me uncomfortable. And it's an absolute spiritual connection. I do not have the power to manufacture, my own conclusions. I have to trust that God's got me. And again, like when we are able to recount the many times, you know, in your recovery since your committed clean date to live life, right? And mature, to put down the things of a child, you know. You know, these events continue to happen, and you know, and I think staying involved in this process is so critical. You know, again, right? The observation, we've all seen them, right? Those that wander away, may I not be one of them. And again, I mean, it's not been, it's God just led me, man. It's like the breadcrumbs are there. Why would I not want to follow them? You know, that question, how long do you have to go to those classes? You know, it's like, you know, they don't have to get it, you know. I have to get it. You know, I mean, I was in the bar every freaking night, man. You know, I was at your house doing your dope, you
Mm-hmm.
know, know, you know, so to participate in this, it's fucking intoxicating with peace and the love, you know, the love that we get by continuing to come back, you know, care for somebody else, man. Um, you know, Milan says you know, it's kind of hard even to, it's interesting because that's his perception, right? That's his belief. From my perception, you know, brother, you know, he's got freaking, you don't have no gloves on, you know, ready to fight. You know, he's got arms open, you know, to like express this love that he's going through, and it's a result, man. For a dope addict, just don't use, and then continue to learn what we have the opportunity to learn and participate in. It's a choice, right, Andrew? Look,
Yes, it is.
you know, do I want to be right? Do I want to be free? You know,
Freedom arrives at my doorstep in the form of choices every single day, bro.
every day. And it begins with not picking up and then being honest with myself. Because do I want to justify my anger? Because I can. And my first step, power trip, once it will. My disease, you know, wanting to have power, you
Big
know,
facts.
and I've got the power that I've got, but the higher power, bro, you know, when I'm most scared, I'm most angry is like if I say, please help me, you know, and I look in the rear view to see the number of incidences over and over that I was scared, thought he was going to leave me or whatever, you know, that I was alone, I was fucked, you know. It's you know, God does for me what I can't do for myself. I need to participate and really surrender more because I participate too much sometimes, you know. And if that's the ego part, like we said, we help when we didn't even intend to, you know, there's a big truth to
Bro,
that.
I think about being as low as I was, man, being wrapped around that toilet bowl for days, sick, not wanting to stay, not wanting to be alive,
Right.
not having any, having nothing like inside of me that wanted to be alive. There was nothing that was going to get me to eat, sleep, do anything that was productive to be alive. God kept me alive, man.
Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
he put people around me to feed me, pick me up, bathe me, like you have to understand, like I try, like when you're saying that, I'm going back to that moment where I did not want to be alive. Like I wanted my disease to bury me, and it never did. Like it killed me, but it never buried me.
Right.
And I wanted it to bury me, man. And God brought me out of this thing, you know, my God, my higher power, right? And it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. I love you, JJ. I love you, Milan, both of
I
y'all, man.
love you both.
This is a
Hmm.
beautiful podcast. You want me to, I'm going to ask myself real quick, how does spiritual
Yeah.
awareness, y'all have like knocked it out of the park. So I don't even have answers for it anymore. But how does spiritual awareness help me stay clean when I'm feeling triggered, or, you know, get me out of a character defect when I'm feeling apt to go into that place? Well, that hits home for me for sure, man. Before I understood what that word meant, and I was able to do a little work on myself, there was no pause in between the action. Um, you know, when I felt triggered to use, it was like a light switch. You know, I would just go use. I would go use. You know, now what this whole spiritual awareness part for me does is it allows me, what it does, it gives me space in between the trigger and the decision. it gives me space. It gives me space to step back, right? When I feel that sensation rising, when I feel that heightened body temperature, when I'm starting to feel a little on edge, you know, that restlessness, that irritability, the emotional spike, like I can, instead of just reacting on that light switch, I can, like you said, Mom, pause. I can pause. I can breathe. I can ask my higher power, why am I feeling like this right now? And that rolls into your answer, JJ. Like you ask him for those answers. What's going on right now? Like, why am I feeling like this? And you get this plethora of answers of like the 40 other times that you asked him for help and he helped you in that exact same situation. Or for the, you know, just if you've never been helped before, he's gonna get, like those answers come to you. And if nothing else, you're just breathing in the moment. You breathe, you tap in spiritually to your body at that moment. Because if nothing else, you don't want to be hurt, right? We don't want to be hurt. Like our bodies don't want to go into hurt mode, right? So like if nothing else, you're just breathing and getting yourself cool, calm, collected in that moment. But it's those answers that I get, right? When I ask for those answers and I ask why am I in this spot, I get those answers of like, hey, you're tired right now. You're just tired. You know, hey, you're just feeling rejected right now. You know, they come in subtle answers. It's the subtle answers. Hey, you're not in danger. You're just scared. Call someone. You don't have to go through this alone. Those are the answers that I get. And in just my actions, my reactions to my pausing to those situations, I get the answers. I reach out and I call my sponsor. I reach out and I call JJ. I get on a meeting and I share about my feelings. I do some readings of in the book, whatever. I've got a lot of things I can do now before I actually go to where I'm going to go call the dough man and go get some dough. Like I've got so many things in between. And so before I had the light switch, right? I didn't have space in between the decision and the trigger, right? I didn't have space. So what spiritual awareness has given me in those moments is a healthy space to plan before I act. And it's vital to me. It's vital for me, man. I've needed that in so many situations. But then it's cool because you don't even really know you're doing. I don't really understand what I'm doing in the moment, but like it's like until after I look back at it, like man, that was a good job. Like I give myself an attaboy, right? Because it's like, bro, you did good. And I like pat myself on the butt and move on, you know, and then try to continue with that healthy way. So that was my answer, and it's on for you, Milan.
I love that answer, dude. You kind of tied it all together there. That was awesome. Spiritual. Okay, this is asking you, Double J from West Virginia. West Virginia awareness. Spiritual awareness often begins not in joy but in surrender when we finally let go of our way. What personal surrender led you to your most profound spiritual awareness?
Ooh.
What personal surrender?
Wow.
Wow. I know the surrender to the program. And then, years of learning how the program works and pursuing a spiritual connection. I had an experience where I let my higher power, I surrendered. I just let this power into my life. And I rely on that power today. And like I said, it's it's funny, triple beam power. I used to live by triple beam power. That's wacky. You remember the old triple beam scale?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Accurate to the hundredth of a gram.
Well, so that's right. That's right. But now this other triple beam of light and awareness, I'm just covered. And so, the experience I had in my surrender to my higher power, um, it continues to be an interpretation. It's totally up to me, you know, and I love the freedom that our recovery program, insists that I have a God. I understand. If you or Andrew understand, the way I understand my higher power, then we've got even more to grow with, and that happens, that happens. But the freedom to know that each of us have the right, and the God's anonymity, man, I feel arrived in this program, and God's got every life form on the planet. Um, I don't know. Did that answer the question?
Hell yeah,
Perfectly.
God's
Yeah,
got you, bro.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Andrew, spiritual awareness often begins not in joy, but in surrender when we finally let go of our way. What personal surrender led you to your most profound spiritual growth?
Um, what personal surrender? God, man. When you asked that question the first time, I was just thinking about it. Like the personal surrender of just when I gave into this disease at first, um, I guess the personal surrender of knowing I was an addict, man, actually coming out and being like, hey, man, I like it was like a couple weeks into treatment and I was trying to fight the process. I wasn't even calling people out. I wasn't calling out or anything. And I realized that I had to come to terms with who I was as how I had become because I was using drugs all day, every day. And then when I finally admitted that I was an addict, right, that was that jumping off point where I remember calling my parents and telling them, just crying, just telling them how sorry I was for what I had put them through and was still putting them through. Again, up until that point, I didn't really want to be alive. I really didn't really see any hope for what I had going on. So when I was able to do that, that's where my spirituality was able to start. I was able to kind of like turn this thing on a little bit and have some clarity in my life. It's wild because it's man, murky. Like it still took a long time. Like even though I was staying clean, it was still such murky waters at the beginning. It was so murky. I think back to some situations and I remember just being really, really out of control emotionally. The physical part is a pain in the ass too at the beginning. Um, but there was this undertone of like I'm gonna be okay. Like I'm gonna be okay. And I remember stopping to fight. Like I let go. I surrendered. I let go of fighting against this process, and I finally was able to kind of like start treading water and start floating in that water and letting go. Because I was just tired of fighting, man. I had been sick. I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. I remember telling myself that a lot. Because I would use drugs I would use more substances just to eat and not think about what I'm eating about. I don't know if y'all can relate to that. I would use more substances, even though I'm high, I would use more just to sleep without thinking about what I'm about to sleep or, just to sleep a little quicker, a little better. Like it was really, really evil the way I was trying to kill myself back in that, like in those times, man. And yeah, I'm completely high on life today, man. I can get up in the morning and I can understand like all those uneasy feelings I have today. I just need to pray, maybe get onto a meeting, and I feel better immediately. I don't have to go to the pharmacy to get I don't have to call the dude that I owe $20 to get another one. I don't have to do that anymore. I'm so grateful. Grateful that I have that choice today, JJ. I have a choice. I have a choice to go left or right. Simple as that. I didn't have that back in the day. I have a choice whether to drink coffee in the morning. I didn't have that in the morning. So I'm kind of getting off on a tangent, but thank you for asking that question, buddy. Who
I
is it
love
on
you,
me?
brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I got to answer it.
Milan,
Spiritual, yep.
brother, I hate to interrupt you, but I feel compelled because I gave a personal answer, and let me add that my surrender is to this program.
Mm?
My primary purpose. It's like the God that is in my life continues to direct me back to our principles and the steps and so forth. So I needed to say that because I didn't say that before. So forgive me for interrupting you, bro.
I I wasn't even started, so I didn't consider it nothing. I
Good.
love you. Yeah,
I
no,
love you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
but you
bro.
know what? It's funny when you said something in what you were saying. I was like, okay, that's what he meant. I thought that exact sentence. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. So for those of you who didn't read me and JJ's mind, that's what he meant. Because I was right there.
I love you. Appreciate it.
Spiritual awareness often begins not in joy, but in surrender when we finally let go of our way. What personal surrender led me to my most profound spiritual growth and awareness? Well, you know, okay, like, I mean, first there was my initial surrender of my addiction, but I would say for the next thing is when I realized that I had a higher power for songwriting and not for saving my life, and adopting that and surrendering to that concept being, that concept of the universe being my higher power. That was probably, one of the biggest shifts in my whole life, and then that definitely led to a different profound awareness because it's never stopped. Like that has evolved and continues to evolve, man, almost on a daily basis. Like as long as I'm still working, it's still changing. And as long as I'm still putting energy into I don't see how it will stop. Like it's kind of like with my songwriting. If I reach a point where I feel like I'm slowing down, all I have to do is learn a new technique on the instrument, and then I have a whole new series of options of things to play. But it's also like if I pick up a piece of literature, or something like what I'm doing with this two-way prayer, if I'm going for a new technique that somebody else in the program shows me, then I have like so many more new things to do. It's like if I stop my curiosity, then I'll be stagnant. And that's it. So inside my surrender leads to infinite path of growth if I just stay curious and hardworking.
Love that. Love
Yeah.
you.
So we're at 9:40. I just wanted to check in for everybody with time. How much more time you got, Andrew, and how much more time you got, JJ?
I got about 10 minutes, 10, 15.
Yeah, well, I sort of have to migrate toward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It,
You want to do one lightning round?
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. Andrew, you got the question, or you want me to pull one of mine?
No, I got one. So this one is, damn it, I just lost it. How does gosh dang it. How does your spiritual awareness how has your spiritual awareness affected your relationship with others?
And now, is this for JJ or me?
This
Milan.
is Milan
Okay,
for you.
so how has my spiritual awareness changed what?
How has your spiritual awareness affected your relationship with others?
Well, quite simply, I think for myself is it shows me when I'm being hurtful a lot sooner, and I find it quite encouraging to act in a more loving way. Like it keeps me from creating those resentments at myself and having to make as many amends. And I think that's
Beautiful.
it. Boom.
That's beautiful. All right, you ready, JJ?
Yeah.
How does your spiritual awareness change excuse me, gosh dang it. How has your spiritual awareness affected your relationship with others?
I have been more aware of trying to control with good intentions. Like, not realizing that my intentions are good, but I may be more selfish or self-serving than I realize. Again, thinking that I'm doing good instead of surrendering and letting things be, um, which results in me being more loving, right? You know, um, I have my beliefs and my input, and I can input, but I can surrender to the process. You're in your own process, and let me appreciate that, you know, so that I can appreciate my own.
Hell yeah, that was dope.
Yeah.
All right, so Andrew,
Awesome.
how has the spiritual awareness affected my relationship with others? That's a great question, Andrew. I'll answer that. Before I got into recovery, I always like to do that. I'm an idiot. Before I used drugs, I used to use people the way I use my drugs, man, for comfort, for escape, to escape my problems. But I don't do that anymore, right? I can actually come to the table and I can see I can empathize with people. Like when people come up in here and share, like my heart connects with theirs, like literally, like my heart literally comes through the screen or through the table wherever I'm at in whatever situation I am, and I can empathize, and I can be and help them and help me at the same time, right, while living vicariously through that story or that share or how it relates to something in my life. But I don't fix or try to control. And again, I have a control issue. I'm gonna let that be known right now. I do, and I'm starting to understand that I still have control issues with some things, and I got to come off that. But overall, I don't try to fix and change people anymore, right? Like I let people and I meet people where they're at, which is part of spirituality too. The most spiritual person in the room is the most person that can be most honest with how unspiritual they can be. So I mean people where they're at. So sorry, I went
I
over.
love that. Without awareness, I have no vehicle for change. That's my last thing. JJ, you got something you want to say, brother? So grateful to have you here today. You know I love you, man.
I love you too. And if we're closing up, I would say something that I learned years ago, that a bell isn't a bell unless you ring it. A song isn't a song unless you sing it. And the love that's inside was not put there to stay. Love isn't love till you give it away.
Ooh, okay, all right. So look, a couple things for me. God, G-O-D. Now the new thing, Guts on Demand, Grit on Demand. The group, G-R-O-U-P. God's really our ultimate power. Ooh, what about
Boom.
that? Yeah, heard that. Look, real quick. In my higher power. So hugs, Hugs, helps us grow spiritually. Hugs, right? And then look, if you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you got to turn around, bro. You're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way.
And man, my JJ takeaway for the day: gratitude in the moment, not for the moment.
That finding purpose
Tune
in the
in
pain.
next
Purpose in
episode
the pain.
for
Find
more recovery fun. Bye, everybody.
I love you.
I love
JJ.
you.
Thank you for today.
Please help us help others. If you'd like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.